All right, welcome. If you are on the YouTube channel or if you are on the podcast, welcome to a place where truth hits different and epiphanies rearrange you. So, I'm Brianna. I am the CEO of Universal Love Academy. And if you're new here, we talk all things human design, gene keys transformation, the truth, and radical epiphanies that really just help you wake up. Now, what do I mean by wake up? That's a very interesting connotation because you don't even know that you're sleeping. So I want to be clear. Sometimes waking up just means that you look at something so different and the thing you're looking at changes, right? Have you guys heard of that quote? If you change the way you look at something, then it has to change because your perception changed. So I really want to talk today about the awareness of how radically different our lives can become when we see ourselves differently. Now, if there is one perception or perspective to change, it's the way that we see ourselves. And the reason for this is because I know that when we change how we see ourselves, then our life has to reflect that. And when we talk about universal laws or universal love, it's ironic, but most people really, really struggle because they don't know the laws of the universe. And I know I was one of them. So tell me, can you relate to having a really hard time in an area of life? And then literally praying to God and wondering if your words are even getting farther than the ceiling and then getting so angry, so apathetic, so frustrated, bitter, and pissed because you know that you're a good person. So, my program used to say, or my brain used to say, I'm a really good person. What the F? And then I would watch someone have more success than me because they had everything I wanted, really, is what it was about. They had everything I wanted, and they weren't being as air quotes good as me because I had a belief that you had to be good in order to have the thing. And when I didn't understand what being good meant, then I saw myself as quite literally the good girl. And when I saw myself that way, it came with a set of rules, a set of restrictions, a set of patterns, a set of feelings, and I didn't like it. So a lot of people want to make the inner work really difficult, and it can be. Or if you're here, you love the flavor of simple. Like that's my life's work, is simplicity. And when I help you understand that the work can be really simple, or the creation process can be really simple, I mean it. So I had to look at, okay, I'm getting pissed because other people are not as good as I am. And good for me meant heart-centered, caring about other people, kind to other people. Like think about programs of what is expected from an 8-year-old girl in perfection mixed with culture of, well, we don't need to go there. Let's just imagine that that word meant perfectionism and it meant being nice but not kind. Okay. The first step of awareness, the first takeaway for you is to identify when you get really pissed and really angry. And this is what I mean by it's really simple. Where do you get the most pissed and where do you get the most frustrated? Because you will actually have then exposed by answering that what you currently assume to be true. So when I am constantly pissed that people have what I want and they're not as heart centered as I am, or they're not trying as hard, then I get pissed because I have a limitation that says you need to do 10 things for someone else before you're allowed to just do it for yourself, right? That's an example. So the first takeaway is to always look at where are you really ruffled? Like where are you really ruffled? Are you ruffled when someone has something that you want and they're not doing blank? Or are you really ruffled because someone said something and it rubbed you the wrong way? So I want to look at where your anger is. And I think this is what I mean by complexity is that people teach you that you need to go do all of this like healing work. And I think, yes, that has its place. But I know that you can also shift just as fast by being really honest. And that's honestly how I believe I hack time is because if I'm willing to be honest, then I feel like I'm not actually working up against anything. And I'm also not going backwards either, going, well, it started here and then it started here, because then my brain's looking for evidence on why I'm right. My brain is definitely not looking for evidence on how this can change. So I'm like, cool, I'm really pissed off that they have all the money and all the things that I want. And I'm really pissed off about it because I feel like I'm trying and I put everyone's needs on my plate and I take care of everybody. And that makes me a good girl and it makes me all these things. So the second step is to identify what the anger is about and to vent. And we've been taught the opposite in law of manifestation, which is, well, if you just keep thinking positive thoughts, and again, that has its place, but no one told you the first step. That's actually the second step. You can't actually rewire a positivity onto a negativity because they don't actually jive. Therefore, your brain is like bullshit because you're trying to put like sprinkles on a cupcake, but the cupcake is like dog shit. So I remember my mentor teaching me this and going, I don't get it. Like, I really just don't get it. And so then as I got older, I'm like, oh, I get it. My complaints and my negativity is the doorway. It's actually not the thing to run away from, it's the doorway. So, why do I say that? Because if I'm aware that I'm having a complaint or a negative vibration, it's because I feel restrained or limited in that area, and it's my doorway. And so I'm not even here to change it. I'm just like, cool, I'm pissed. Like people don't try as hard as I'm trying, nor do they have a heart-based approach. Like they're making all these millions of dollars and they're scamming people. I'm like, oh, there's the belief. So you're either like all in with your heart or you're all into scamming people. Isn't that interesting? So now I have an option. I can go back and look in childhood and go dig it up and, get to the root. But I actually believe the root is found in the negativity already. It's like, cool, I just hit the root. I'm pissed because of this thing. So how are we going to change the way we feel and see ourselves? It's really simple. The next step does that. So when you're frustrated and complaining and negative and you don't push it away and you see it as an entry point, you walk into the door. You don't freaking slam the door and pretend it's not there and be like, I'm so happy and positive. But you're like, meanwhile, banging on the door, you freaking bastard. I hate this feeling. Da-da-da. Okay. So the second thing I would say as your takeaway is really simple. Okay. So now that I'm aware that I believe people scam people when they're not using their heart in business, what would I choose to believe instead? So then you have a choice, but you actually don't have agency until you walk through the negativity. And I want to say that again. You actually don't have agency until you walk through the negativity. Because when you pretend that only positivity exists, then you only have half of the coin. And you're not here to feel like really good for a day and then burn out the next. You're here to feel whole. And when you feel whole and complete, then you will constantly expand and desire more, not from a place of complete me, but from a place of course I'm magnetic. Of course I'm freaking amazing. Of course, right? It's the of course energy because I'm full. And so then when you go put, the sprinkles on top, it's like, of course you'd want to decorate a complete cake because I'm complete, I'm whole. Okay, moving forward. So the next thing when you walk through your complaints and your venting and your negativity, you look at what it is telling you. And it is telling you what you assume to be true. And where you picked it up doesn't matter. Where you're going does. So then you ask, okay, what would I choose to believe instead? Or maybe belief doesn't even feel like a great word for you. Because I used to think that changing beliefs were so hard. And I hated that. Because I'm like, oh, here's my negativity about beliefs. It's a lot of work. You got to feel your trauma. You got to keep rehashing out the past. Blah, blah, blah. So do you think I was doing belief work? No, because I had an assumption that it meant I'm going to die every time I find a new one. So then I was like, okay, forget all of that. There is a law, the law of assumption. And it says that what I assume to be true will be true. And so I'm like, I can work with that because assumptions are created in 2.3 seconds. I look at you and I assume you're a good person or I don't. I look at you and I assume that you're kind and use your heart or you don't. Like assumptions can be created in an instant. We do it with our eyes. And what we see, that's why I talked about perception, right? Because if what we see is not always the truth, or what we see is true because the way we see it is in fact our reality, then that means assumptions and beliefs can be changed in like a jiffy, like boom, new reality, boom, new reality, boom. And that felt really creative and playful. So then every day I was like, oh, cool. So if my negativity is the gateway and my complaints and my venting and my bitching and my moaning is actually like trying to be like, sister, you can rearrange the room, you can put on new makeup, you don't have to be in this shit show. I was like, awesome. So then I started welcoming it in, where before I was like, oh, you're not high vibe because you're not all positive. You're telling me all this crap and I actually don't want to know about it. And I think there's boundaries to that. Now, moving along. So, the second thing I recognized was my complaints are a door. So, takeaway number two, what do I choose to assume instead? Because assumptions can be created in an instant. I was like, cool, I choose to assume that money is neutral and that money doesn't require heart, but that's what makes me more special. So now I assume that operating from my heart is a benefit. It's an added cherry on top. It's what gives me value, but it's not what gives the money value. Then I was like, oh, now I don't have to put all these rules and regulations around where money can show up and where it can't, and the yuckiness around like not wanting to scam people. So then I'm actually saying I don't want money because I think you're going to make me become that version. So the biggest assumption I could create then would to be I see myself as totally authentic. I see myself as totally integrous, and I see myself as totally heart-centered. And when I started to see the truth in that, those assumptions started to create a new feeling. And so it was like, cool, now money can show up and the success can show up because I no longer have a vibration or feeling of scam or guilt. Okay. So let's make it more digestible. When you change how you see yourself, when you change your perception, when you change how you feel about yourself, the world is going to respond. But that doesn't come just because you were told by a friend that you're amazing. Like, how many times have we received a compliment and our nervous system didn't let it land? It's like, oh, you look amazing today. And you're like, yeah, I know this whole thing. Or, hey, you are amazing. Thank you for changing my life. Oh, yeah, like, it's what I do for work. Like, we constantly are in a placement of, like, again, perception. Are you worthy of the compliment or aren't you? Do you see yourself as someone that changes lives or don't you? Do you see yourself as someone that is generous or don't you? And so what I have found is that when you change how you see yourself, the feeling naturally follows. And so I personally like the way that my eyes perceive things, and that's how I'm designed according to my human design. And yes, I love teaching human design and gene keys, and I am going to tell you how I feel about myself, full transparency. I feel like I am the best in the industry at describing it because I understand that my gift is translation. And so when you take complex information and make it digestible, like that is worth billions of dollars because not everyone can read code, right? Like, how many times have you studied something and you're like, I'm sure this could be cool, but it means nothing to me because I don't understand it? So I help people understand themselves. And beyond human design and gene keys is exactly what we're talking about. How can I help you understand that the way you feel about yourself is going to set up the foundation for every relationship, every interaction, everything. And so if you're in a place of feeling insecure and you're in a place of feeling inadequate and you're in a place of feeling like dirt about yourself, then dude, the universe can't be like, here's your amazing cupcake. And by the way, I bought your birthday uh, platter and here's your amazing, bells and whistles. You're not going to receive it because you don't actually feel like you're worthy of it. And I think that is the biggest feeling to change about ourselves is how we feel on the status of worthiness. And if your mama and your daddy never told you that you are worthy, then it would make sense that you're like waiting for that feeling to come in from someone outside of you because you never had it in your infancy. So let's keep this really simple. You're worthy, but when you hear that and you don't feel that, what do you do about it? Well, you can get your mind and your eyes on board. Tell your brain, look for evidence on why I'm worthy, and tell your eyes, look for evidence on why I'm worthy. I think so many times we wake up and we use our senses like without conscious thought. Like we wake up and we're like, oh, I need to go pee. And then you wake up and you're like, I need some coffee. And then you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do today? And then you wake up and you're like, I had a lot to do today. And then you go into the normal vibration of how you usually feel about yourself, which is I'm either behind or I have a lot to do or I feel overwhelmed. Like you go into your natural feeling state because there was no conscious intention behind the day, behind the evidence, behind what it is that you're choosing. I heard the best analogy ever, so I'm going to give it to you. I literally love to find things that are said and then revamp them. But the idea was that every one of us have an emotional portfolio, and your emotional portfolio, it usually doesn't get as much time as, say, the portfolio that you give to business or the portfolio that you would give to your boss. Like if you were interviewing for something or wanting the date or the relationship or the love, you would put your best foot forward. But it's an interesting concept because you have an emotional portfolio, and because you can't physically see it, you don't pay any mind to it. And so you're constantly distracted by what you do see, but you're not actually putting time in the things that you don't see. And so when you invest in your emotional portfolio, what do we want money for? Because we want to invest. What do we want to invest in? We want to invest in feeling the best. We want to invest in feeling the most richest, the most glamorous, the most supported, the most taken care of, the most nourished, the most harmonious life we can create, which is interesting because we're waiting for the dollar to invest in that future, into that vibration, into that feeling. And so we have given money the role to invest into our security, into our safety. But what if we took that same, we're not changing it, we're just moving it over, take that same concept and we're going to move that investment into your emotional portfolio. So today you have 24 hours. I'm going to let you invest 24 hours into today. Now, if you have 24 hours and that's your currency, your cash, let's say that 24 hours is your currency. Now, what are you going to do with those 24 hours? What is the currency how are you going to spend those 24 hours? What is the emotional portfolio that you are willing to invest in? So when I wake up, I'm like, cool, I'm going to emotionally invest in badassery today. I'm going to invest 24 hours into badassery because I know if I invest into that, the return of investment is more badassery. It's accomplishment. It's I did it. It's I'm a warrior. It's I kicked ass. It's I am amazing, right? But do you think that when I wait for the world to give me that feeling, that I feel that feeling? No, it's like night and day. Like my friends, even my partner especially, he'll be like, "Are you okay today?" And I'm like, "No, just life is really lame." And then I go back to my default setting. My default investment, and I'll tell you, I'm not afraid of it. It was overwhelm, inadequacy, and perfectionism, but not like the good kind where I like want to give my best. It was like, I'm not good enough. That's what it was. The emotional portfolio of Brie 2.1 was overwhelm, whiny, victim, overstimulated, and I'm not enough, so I'm going to overcompensate. Okay. This version, Brianna 2.0, is emotionally invested in badassery, winning, success, totally worthy, and totally enough. That vibration keeps showing up for me because different opportunities show up, different friends show up, different conversations are happening, different phone calls are flowing. My heart is connected. And when you allow that, I have hit max capacity at recording. Isn't that interesting? See, overflow. Can I tell you a secret? When I wake up in the morning, my emotional investment in my emotional portfolio is overflow because I got so frustrated and angry. Like I told you, that everyone else had the money that I wanted and the success that I wanted. And I was trying really hard. And I was showing up with my heart and getting no results because I didn't feel worthy. So then when I was done pretending that those things were true, I was like, okay, so what does Brianna 2.0, what does she feel like when she wakes up in the morning? Oh, dude, she's in overflow. She literally wakes up in overflow. And that means overflow of love, overflow of money, overflow of abundance. Like literally, my cup poureth over. And when I go to bed, guess what? I'm very intentional because remember, I told you had 24 hours to invest, not just 2 hours. Not like, oh, that hour I was investing in positivity, and then the next 3 hours I was investing in dog shit. No, and it does take muscle. I want to be clear. This is not about like, I know she told me to work on my emotional portfolio. Investments can take time, and some investments are overnight. So I would tell you, because I love speed, what investment is going to give you the fastest return? The fastest. Pick one. Because then when I go to bed at night, I'm like, okay, what is the fastest return of investment right before I hit bed? And it was certainty. And I'm like, isn't that weird? Why would I want to fall asleep to certainty? And I'm asking myself these questions, right? Or listening to some like really inspirational shit. And it was certainty because when I fall asleep at night and I'm certain that what I want is already mine, I wake up in overflow. I was like, you are genius. Like, who doesn't want to invest in that portfolio? Right. And then you start walking around different. You're like, hey, my name's Bree, or hey, my name's whatever. And you are energetically putting off a vibration of your investment portfolio. So then the universe is like, oh, I see you. I'm going to invest in that and I'm going to meet it. That's why it's called an investment, because it grows. Not because you did more, not because you saved people more, not because you were freaking and hustle and grind and prove it energy, but because you were like, dude, my emotional portfolio is in so much gratitude and so much abundance and so much overflow that I could cry. Thank you, God, for everything that I have. But do you think that I was telling God thank you when I didn't have what I wanted? No, I was like, what the actual F, right? I crossed off the boxes. I did the things. I said my prayers. Are you even listening, right? What was my emotional portfolio? Limited self belief and a perception of myself that said I'm broken. I can't figure it out. That was my perception. Okay. So you have gotten a lot of golden nuggets and goodies on this call or on this podcast or YouTube. And if you don't think you have, I invite you to check again, because this is the literal hack to feeling and sustaining wealth from inside. This is the ability to generate the currency that you think the world is withholding from you. This is the ability to become a creator, not a please help me on the side of the road, I need cash. This is the ability to step into your power. And this is what I mean, by the way, when I teach human design and gene keys in my programs. People always ask, you talk a lot about doing this from the inside out. I still don't understand how you do that. And I have just given you the how. The how is to source it from the inside out. And you do that by asking one question. So let's assume that you worked through your negativity and you saw it as a portal to now have awareness around how you currently see and view yourself and how you feel about you. And this next part is cool. What is the one investment I can make today in 24 hours or whatever time frame you have? And what do I choose to invest in today? And then here's what's cool. If you're like, tomorrow happens and you're like, dude, I said I was going to invest in gratitude and love, but I only found complaints and more bullshit. Cool. Don't force it. Just say, okay, today I'm going to invest 1 hour, because we can't invest what we don't have. So you're not going to go bet all your money in your house and your wealth on the jackpot if you don't even have a dollar to put into the pot. So start small then, right? Like, you're playing the game of life and it's a game, dude. It's a freaking game. It's not serious. So if you're playing a game and you're like, cool, I have 50 cents, I'm going to invest 50 cents into the next 30 minutes of all of the reasons why I know, like I know I am worthy. I'm going to invest into what it means to be so supported that I am tickled by how much I'm supported. Like, this chair I'm sitting on is supporting me. And this office I'm in, it's giving me space to speak my truth. And that poster right there, it's supporting me because it reminds me every day, you've already been there, you've already arrived. So when my mind looks for evidence on why I'm not enough or why the old story is more true, I say, no, baby, I don't invest in bullshit no more. And that story doesn't actually give a return of investment. So let's use our business logic for our emotional realm. Okay, and let's see that the greatest sell that you will ever make is the one on yourself. The greatest bet that you will ever bet on is yourself. I tell people, you love working with me because I teach you, but what you really don't know, according to my chart, is that I am your biggest cheerleader. Like, do you see how we have amped up the energy from how I started this call to I'm on fire? If you could see yourself, you would freaking stop settling. And lastly, let me slow down. I know in my heart of hearts that if I can help you understand, then you will choose to take a stand. Now, you're not taking a stand to convince the jury or the universe that you're enough. You're taking a stand for yourself because you know that you are totally worth it. And everything outside of that idea is complete bullshit. So, what idea are you thinking from? What investment are you banking on? What intention are you feeding every single moment? Because here's the truth: 24 hours is just one portfolio, but then you can invest into the micro moments and you can slow down and you can find sweetness in every present moment, but that requires your presence. Okay, guys, we're at time. I'm going to let you go, and I want you to know that you're totally enough, you're totally worthy, and you are so sacred and so holy. Until next time. I'll see you there. Oh, and make sure you get your booties in my freaking class because I have crafted a beautiful human design and Gene Keys legacy session, literally legacy, right? To help you do what I'm talking about. So don't try to run a race on one leg. Let me support you. Let me hold your hand. Let me help you develop the muscle because once you do, baby, there's no looking back. Get your butt in that class. Go click the link and I will see you next time. Thanks, guys.